Hello again, everyone. All right, so right now I'm going to make a video on how to make our Peter Rabbit cookie using the fondant stamp set here. And all of our sets, they also come with buttercream cutters. So the yellow cutter is the buttercream cutter. All right, so we use the buttercream cutter as the name implies, so that you can also use buttercream as your frosting and shape it, stamp it. Instead of having to use fondant if you don't want to use fondant. And I love the taste of rolled buttercream, so that's one of my favorite things to do. But the buttercream cutter also has another use. So I've got some fondant mixed up right here, and we really like to use, this is the brand of fondant we like to use. It's called Renshaw. I get it on Amazon. And here in the US, it can be really hard to find good fondant that doesn't have, how do I put this? It doesn't have corn syrup, because the corn syrup, it'll work. If you go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or something like that and you buy fondant there, you can totally use it for these stamps. I just really prefer working with the fondants that are glucose-based. There's also a lot of really great recipes online for making your own glucose-based fondant. Anyway, okay, so you see that I've got my fondant color. So for our Peter Rabbit and Peter Rabbit Friends, we have a bunch of other characters too. For these sets, they're actually designed for watercoloring. So our Peter Rabbit set also comes with these. It's also got the food dye paint. So we've got pink and brown and blue. Those come with this set too, so that you don't have to, chase a bunch of equipment all over town. Okay, so one thing that makes our stamps really easy to use is you take your buttercream cutter, and I'm going to cut out the fondant. So the way I see a lot of people doing stamps when they're going to two-tone a stamp is they'll just take the fondant and mash it into the stamp and then scrape it off, and that's fine, totally works, no problem at all, but I just find that it goes way faster if I use my buttercream cutter, which again, we're the only ones doing buttercream cutters, and cut out my fondant, and then I'm going to flip it over so that it matches. See that? It just matches right up. And so here what I'm going to do is I'm just pressing down real firmly to get that fondant in there deep and secure. Okay, next I'm going to take my acrylic scraper. This comes with the welcome kit. Your first order always comes with a welcome kit, so you'll have all these supplies. Okay, and then the trick to two-toning the fondant is going to be you're going to press down. So I've got downward pressure going on, but I'm also kind of scooching side to side. So it's almost like you're scraping it in there while you're applying a downward pressure. Okay, and now I'm going to do the other end. And again, just downward pressure, scooch side to side. If you see it like trying to peel up or something like that, just put your finger there to hold it down. And you're done. Okay, so that's that stamp filled. And if you have experience stamping with fondant stamps, you will know that that was like a super easy stamp fill. All right, now, if you need to clean up the edges, not a problem. Just take your acrylic scraper, go around, clean up your edges. All right, easy peasy. Okay, so there we go. So I've got the fondant into the stamp. So the next step is going to be to roll out the base fondant. You can do any color you like. If you have a particular color theme you want to work with, you can do that. I'm just going to use some plain white fondant as the base. And so I'm going to just smooth this out. You could also use homemade marshmallow fondant is another option that you can use as your fondant. Earlier, I thought that I was using the Renshaw. I was actually using marshmallow fondant, and the way I could tell was because marshmallow fondant has a tendency to get like these teeny tiny little bits of sugar in them, like where the powdered sugar is all gathered up. Anyway, so it works with marshmallow fondant too. Anyway, okay, so what I'm going to do now, what I usually do is I'm going to take my fine brush here, which also comes with your welcome kit, dip it in a little bit of water, and just dab just a tiny wee bit little of water. I don't want this soaking wet. In fact, I'm also kind of like spreading it over because I don't want it super wet. And that's just going to help it to adhere to the base fondant here, which there was some water in my rolling pin. So the base fondant's already kind of sticky, which is great. That's great. Okay, now we just apply downward pressure on my squeaking dining room table. All right, so we got that downward pressure. All right, and then I'm going to pick this up. And voila, there you go. So now you got your fondant on there. Okay, and now you're going to take your cookie cutter. This is the same cutter you would use to actually make the cookies that you're going to put the fondant on top of. And I'm going to get this lined up. All right, just like that. And I like to give it a little bit of a wiggle just to kind of clean those edges up a bit. All right, there we go. Put this aside. Okay, and then to pick it up, just use this scraper. This fondant scraper also comes with the welcome kit. Okay, and there we go. Now that one I'm going to set aside, just let it kind of dry out and stiffen a little bit. So right now what I'm going to do is show you how we paint the Peter Rabbit cookie. And you can paint it once it's put onto the cookie. You can adhere this with some corn syrup, royal icing, or piping gel, whatever you want to affix the fondant onto the cookie. Totally your choice. Okay, so I've got a piece of fondant here. And the other cool thing I love about the fondant stamps is you can, like if you've got a big event coming up, you can go ahead and roll all of your fondant pieces like days before and then just bake, 2 days before, whatever you like to do for your cookies. Okay, so like I said, the Peter Rabbit set and all of the Peter Rabbit friend sets, they come with the food dye needed for that kit. Okay, so for Peter Rabbit, we're going to be using pink, blue, and brown. Okay, now these will come with just a dollop of food dye in there. And I have added, let's see here if I can get this shot in here, some almond extract. You can also use just like some Everclear or some kind of like strong alcohol that's going to evaporate real fast. But I always have almond extract around, so I just use that. Okay, so for painting Peter Rabbit, I'm going to start with the pink. All right. And like I said, this is the food dye that comes with the kit, and it's already mixed up with some of the, I may have made this too strong, with the almond extract. I kind of made it, the colors a little bit darker because when I normally doing this, I like to have that pastel Beatrix Potter kind of look to it. So normally I would have this watered down with the almond extract way more than this, but I have found that it doesn't really show on the camera. It's probably because I usually film at night and the lighting is not great. Anyway, you don't have to make it this dark. If you want the pink to be lighter or any of the colors to be lighter, just use more of the extract. Okay, so I've got the insides of his ears are pink. Okay, and now I'm going to give him a cute little pink nose. All right. Okay, rinse that brush out. Okay, so now I'm going to do his eyes, and I'm doing his eyes brown. Another thing you can do with the brown is if you are like just really super artistic and you want to add dimension by doing, gosh, I don't even know what it's called. I'm not that kind of artist. Where you would add like shadow and stuff like that. The brown is a great way to add shadow to the Peter Rabbit characters. Okay, anyway, I'm going to do his eyes with this brown. And so I'm just going right here where it's raised on the fondant. Okay, and again, rinse that out. And now I'm going to do blue for his jacket. Another reason I like to paint the colors is I make my own natural food dye, and so I can use natural food dye paints. And, different plants and different vegetables and fruits make different colors. So I'm going to be doing a blog post on the website pretty soon here on all that so that everybody can just kind of make their own. Anyway, so let's see here. I'm just going to come here. And so his jacket in the story is blue. So I'm just going to kind of come over here. And again, this is darker than I would normally paint. I normally really like to go for that really light, Beatrix Potter pastel soft color, but just for the camera, I'm making it dark so that you can see it properly. All right, I'll finish up this side right here. And then you just do the same thing over here on this side for this part of the jacket. So that's it. I'll have a finished one that's dried out. That's another thing, is this extract will actually, the food dye, the food paint you've made with your almond, your extract, alcohol, whatever you're using, and the food dye, it'll dry. I like to give it 12 hours, you know. It sometimes dries quicker, sometimes longer, depends on how humid it is. If you have a cookie dehydrator, sticking the fondant pieces or the cookies in there for just a few minutes after you've painted them is a really easy way to dry them out quickly. But if not, you know, just leaving them on the counter, that'll work too. Okay, so there you go. Again, it's darker than I usually do, but it's because I'm trying to get it to show on the camera. All right, so next I'm going to be doing a video on how to do the Peter Rabbit cookie, but with buttercream. And I'll be right back to show you all that. Thank you. Bye.